The Vikings have been conducting small raids on Ireland since 795 AD. Usually, these small raids consisted of less than 5 longships and maybe 100 to 200 Viking warriors. In 812 AD, a larger Viking fleet of 120 ships and possibly over 3,000 Viking warriors made attacks on the West Irish kingdoms of Connacht and Munster. After meeting resistance in Ireland, this fleet sailed away to places unknown. Small hit-and-run raids continued through the 810s and 820s. During this period, the Vikings would set up temporary summer camps on islands and riverbanks. The Vikings would use these temporary camps as bases from which to conduct raids further upriver into the interior of Ireland. In the 830s AD, a Viking sea king, whom the Annals name as Trujessus, arrived with a large fleet. Trujessus' intent was to take advantage of the Irish disunity and establish more permanent settlements from which he could conquer the rest of Ireland. Trujessus founded Dublin in 841 AD. It was Mael Shicnail, the king of Meath, and soon to become the High King of Ireland, who followed Trujessus' plans by capturing him and killing him around 845 AD. Besides Dublin, the Vikings founded other permanent settlements at Cork and Waterford in the late 840s AD. The permanent settlement at Dublin attracted more Vikings led by the sea kings Amlaib and Imar. It is thought by some scholars that Imar is the same person as Ívarr the Boneless. It was Ívarr the Boneless who led the great heathen army on its mid-860s conquest of Anglo-Saxon England. The grandsons of Imar were known as the Imar. Members of the Imar dynasty would rule parts of Viking Britain and Ireland well into the mid-10th century. Through the 830s, the Viking raids were becoming even more widespread and numerous. In 832 AD, Ardmaka, the hill fort and church in Imar, where St. Patrick based his ecclesiastical capital, was raided by Vikings not once but 3 times that year. Lost treasure found in the River Blackwater most likely came from one of the Viking raids on Ardmaka. It was the disunity in the civil wars between the Irish kings that allowed the Vikings to build their permanent settlements in Ireland. In the 820s and 830s, the Irish petty kings, Irish princes, and Irish chieftains were fighting a civil war against each other. In 826 AD and again in 833 AD, the Annals speak of an Irish chieftain of Munster rising up to press his claim to be the High King of Ireland. Fedilmid, son of Crimthan, the chieftain of Munster, king of Cashel, a bishop and an abbot, brought his Munster-Irish force north up the river Shannon to the center of Ireland and attacked the great monastery at Clonmacnoise. This Irish chieftain Fedilmid and his men are said to have killed many of the clergy at Clonmacnoise and burned many of the outbuildings surrounding the main church. Chieftain Fedilmid attacked the monastery at Durrow in the same manner. In 836 AD, Chieftain Fedilmid captured the oratory at Kildare. Irish Chieftain Fedilmid received submission from both Chieftain Foranan of Imar and Neil Kelly, Chieftain of the O'Neills and the High King of Ireland. Niall Kelly was able to reverse his position. In 841 AD, Niall Kelly, High King of Ireland, was able to defeat the forces of Chieftain Fedilmid in a surprise attack at Mag Ochtar in County Kildare. The Annals of Ulster record the death of Chieftain Fedilmid in 847 AD. Even though Fedilmid sacked many monasteries during his career, he was a bishop and an abbot of Cork Abbey and Clonfert Abbey, and the Catholic Church lists him as Saint Fedilmid. In 833 AD, Conquebar MacDonchada, king of Meath in the southern O'Neill, died. Conquebar was the High King of Ireland with opposition. Conquebar's brother, Maelronaid MacDonchada, became King of Meath and leader of the Southern O'Neill. Niall Cally, leader of the Northern O'Neill, became the High King. During this period, the High Kingship of Ireland rotated between the Northern O'Neill and the Southern O'Neill. The High Kings were crowned on the Hill of Tara. Often, other kings of Ireland disputed their claims. In the Munster region, the most powerful king was crowned at the Rock of Cashel. In 833 AD, Vikings attacked Londonderry and plundered Rathloure's fort. Niall Cally, the new High King of Ireland, was able to lead a force to defeat the Vikings and drive them off. The Vikings moved on to plunder Condera in County Wicklow. The Vikings sailed up the River Liffey with a large fleet and plundered the monastery at Clondalkin. Clondalkin is 7 miles south of the city centre of modern Dublin. The Annals do not name the Viking commander, although some historians believe the Viking commander to be Trujessus. The Viking sea king Trujessus has also been called Turgis, and Thurgest. The name Turgesius first reliably appears in the Annals of Ulster for 846 AD. The best we can do is speculate that Trujessus commanded the Viking fleet from its arrival in 837 AD. We can speculate without evidence that Trujessus had been on many raids in Ireland from the early 830s and maybe back into the 820s. In 833 AD, Vikings, maybe led by Trujessus, plundered a small town near Loch Brycannon in County Down. There, Cogad, son of Echad, was taken prisoner and carried off by the Vikings to their ships, where he was killed. In 834 AD, Donashad, son of Scanlan, king of the Uifigentia, who lived near Limerick in the town of Groom, quote, defeated the invaders and killed many of them, unquote. The River Shannon was a great place for the Viking raiders. Its numerous islands provided bases from which raids could be launched into Clare and Limerick counties and the rest of the Munster region. The city of Limerick was founded as a Viking base on a Shannon River island. It is likely Trujessus was very familiar with the Shannon River as a highway for his inland raids. In 834 AD, Irish petty kings and princes, including Donashad, son of Scanlan, together with Niall, the son of Cenefalaid, the chieftain of the Uí Cabre, joined forces to defeat the Vikings at Senati in what is now Limerick County. Also in 834 AD, we are told in the Annals of Ulster and the Chronicon Scotorum that Glendalough and Slane County Meath were ravaged and plundered by Vikings. In 835 AD, the Vikings raided Ferns, County Wexford, along with the church of Dringhing and the monastery of St. Fontaine. The Vikings also raided Mungret in Limerick County. Dr. Todd says the distances between these raids, quote, proves that they were committed by more than one body of invaders, unquote. In 836 AD, the Vikings camped at the mouth of the River Vantry in County Wicklow, southeast Ireland. They set fire to the church in Kildare. It is possible that these Vikings were in league with Fedilmid, the king of Munster, for the Annals say Fedilmid captured prisoners from the oratory of Kildare against Foran, the abbot of Armagh. The Vikings captured much booty from their raid on Kildare. On Christmas Eve, 836 AD, the Vikings conducted a second raid on Clonmacnoise in County Carlow, where they took a large number of prisoners for their slave trade. The Vikings also burned an oratory in Glendalough, County Wicklow. In 836 AD, Vikings invaded the Connaught region of northwest Ireland. According to the Annals of the Four Masters, the Vikings, quote, harried and spoiled all the province of Connaught, unquote. In 837 AD, a Viking fleet of 120 longships arrived off the east coast of Ireland. The fleet may have come from Lathland or Lochlann. Lathland was once thought to be Norway, but is now thought to be Scandinavian-occupied Scotland or the Isle of Man, though this opinion is not undisputed. Lochlann, a corruption of the supposedly North term Lothland, was used in later centuries to refer to Norway. Many historians associate this fleet with the Viking sea king Turgesius. The fleet split in two. Half the fleet went raiding up the Boyne River. The other half of the fleet sailed up the River Liffey, where they raided the small ecclesiastical community called Dublin of Athclete, or the Black Pool or the Firth of Hurdles. Dublin is Irish for Black Pool, for the black pool that formed its inner harbour. Athclete refers to the fording hurdles, or fording stones, across the River Liffey. This 837 raid on Dublin would be the first, but definitely not the last, Viking visit to the community. Trujessus' fleet was more than a Viking raiding fleet. It was an enormous fleet for the time. At 30 to 50 persons per ship, a 120 ship fleet could carry 3,600 to 6,000 warriors or settlers. Historians believe the fleet arrived in Ireland to install Norse settlements and bases from which the rest of Ireland could be conquered. The sources do not track the location of their leader, Trujessus, and where and when he was personally involved in his fleet's carnage. The Irish Annals only record the wake of destruction wrought by the fleet following its arrival. The two fleets ravaged the Mag Liffey, the plain of the Liffey around Kildare, and the Mag Brea, the plain of the Bregia between the Liffey and the Boyne, extending from the sea into County Meath. We are told the men of Brea won a victory over the Vikings and killed over 120 Viking warriors. The Annals give the name of one Viking leader killed in the Battle of Brea in 837 AD as Saxolev, Lord of the Foreigners. Remarkably, Saxolev or Saxolf is not a Scandinavian name, but an Anglo-Saxon name. Even this early in the Viking Age, it seems that high-status Anglo-Saxons were joining the Vikings on their raids on Ireland. The victory at Brea is overshadowed by Irish losses elsewhere in Ireland in 837 AD. The Annals of the Four Masters tells of a disastrous battle fought between the Vikings and the Southern O'Neills of County Meath. The Vikings won the battle, and the Southern O'Neills were crushed in a great slaughter. We are told of the kings of the Southern O'Neills who escaped with their lives. The list of kings who escaped included Mael Runed, the king of the Uisneach in County Meath. Mael Runed was the father of Mael Shicnail MacMael Runed, who would become the High King of Ireland in 845 AD. Following their victory over the kings of Meath, the Vikings plundered or burned most of the churches and monasteries in Meath and in Eastern Ireland. After plundering Meath, Turgesius proclaimed himself sovereign of the foreigners of Erin, and the Vikings throughout Ireland followed him. Trujessus claimed all the lands of Leth Con, which means Con's half, or the northern half of Ireland, including Connaught and Ulster. Con of 100 battles was a legendary High King of Ireland who supposedly lived in the 2nd century AD. Moog, the King of Munster, got the southern half of Ireland, or the Leth Mugger. Under Trujessus, the Vikings left a fleet in control of Lough Neagh. the central lake of Northern Ireland, that borders the 6 counties of modern-day Northern Ireland. The Vikings controlled County Louth on the east coast of Ireland, just south of the Northern Ireland. In or about 838 AD, Turgesius took a fleet around to Western Ireland and sailed up the River Shannon. He installed a fleet to control Lough Ree, the middle lake of the 3 major lakes along the Shannon River. Control of Lough Ree meant control of the center of Ireland. From their bases in the central waterways of Ireland, the Vikings were able to plunder the land, the churches, and the monasteries, including the great monastery of Clonmacnoise. In 839 AD, Turgesius briefly left Ireland with a Viking fleet to make war on the kingdom of Dalriada and the kingdom of Fortune in Scotland. Dalriada was an Irish-speaking kingdom formed in the 5th century AD by Irish immigration into Scotland. The Irish immigration took place in the vacuum left by the withdrawal of the Romans from Britain. The kingdom of Fortune was the Pictish kingdom. The Picts were the prehistoric inhabitants of Scotland who were believed to have spoken a now extinct form of Celtic language. The Dalriatans and the Picts joined forces to fight off the Viking invasion force. The Dalriatans were led by their king Gáedel, son of Boreda. The Picts were led by King Owain, son of Angus. The Dalriatan-Pict alliance fought the Vikings in a battle in Fortune, aka Pictland. The battle was a crushing loss for the Dalriatan-Pict alliance. The Pictish king Owain and his brother Bran were killed in the battle, as was the Dalriatan king Gáedel. Innumerable other people were killed on the Dalriatan-Pict side. According to historian William Skene, quote, "The Picts received so crushing a blow from the Danish pirates that it seems to have almost exterminated the family connected with Fortran and paved the way for the successful attempt of Kenneth MacAlpin, son of Alpin the Scot, to place himself on the throne of the Picts," unquote. The Vikings devastated the Picts so badly, the Pictish civilization was brought to an end, and the survivors were absorbed into the kingdom of Dalriada or the kingdom of Alba, Scotland. By the 11th century AD, the Pictish language was extinct, and any surviving Pictish writing remains impossible to translate. In 840 AD, the Vikings who settled on Lough Ree attacked County Louth and killed many, and carried many more back to their fortress on Lough Ree. The prisoners included bishops and learned monks from the monasteries they raided. In 840 AD, Trujessus himself led his Vikings on a raid of St. Patrick's Abbey in Imar 3 times in the same month. Foranan, the abbot of St. Patrick's Abbey in Imar, managed to escape to the region of Munster. Abbot Foranan built a shrine to St. Patrick in Munster. In 841 AD, the Vikings sailed back up the River Liffey and seized the ecclesiastical community of Dublin. This time, they stayed to set up a permanent camp. They built a long fort, a fortified settlement with wharves to dock their long ships. The exact site where this first long fort was built is uncertain, but a good guess would be on the site of Dublin Castle, as it overlooked the Black Pool that would serve as a natural harbor. The degree of participation of Turgesius in the building of this long fort in Dublin is unknown, but it is probable that the Vikings of Dublin would have recognized Turgesius as their overlord. The Vikings used their long fort at Dublin to raid and plunder Leinster to their south and to further attack the southern Annals of County Meath to their north. The Vikings of Dublin plundered Clonmacnoise, the monastery of St. Fintan in Louth County. The Dublin Vikings also demolished Clonard, the monastery of St. Finian in County Meath. Within the decade that Dublin was settled, other Viking settlements were being built. In 841 AD, the Vikings built a long fort at Lyn Duchnail, near Annagassan in County Louth. There is evidence that the Vikings had settlements or raiding bases in Arklow and Wicklow in the mid-830s. The Vikings began a settlement or raiding base in Cork before 846 AD. In 846 AD, the Irish Annals report that Ulster mac Canada, king of Munster, attacked a Viking stronghold at Cork. In Wexford, Irish churches and settlements had been subjects of Viking raids since 819 AD. It is possible that the Vikings began to settle Wexford before 850 AD. But the first record of a Viking settlement at Wexford does not appear in the Irish Annals until 888 AD, when Old Irish texts record the Irish defeating Norse of Wexford and Waterford. Waterford was officially founded as a town by the Vikings in 914 AD, but the archaeology points to a Viking settlement in Waterford more than 50 years older, putting the Viking settlements in Waterford before 860 AD. In 841 AD, Maelrunaid, king of Uisnech in County Meath, was defeated by his nephew Dermot MacConchabar and temporarily ousted from his throne. Maelrunaid's son, Maelshicnail mac Maelrunaid, killed Dermot the same day, and so restored his father to his throne. Maelrunaid, king of the Uisnech, died in 843 AD, and his eldest son, Flan mac Maelrunaid, became king of the Uisnech. Flan's brother, Maelshicnail mac Maelrunaid, disputed Flan's appointment as king and set off an internal feud. In 842 AD, Vikings plundered the Shandon River Valley, including the monasteries of Clonmacnoise, Clonfert, Seir, and Birr. In 845 AD, the Vikings of Dublin plundered the Christian settlement at the Rock of Downham in County Louth, and killed the abbot of Terryglass from County Tipperary and other dignitaries at the site of Downham. In 845 AD, the Vikings of Dublin also plundered ecclesiastical settlements in Kildare, Clonmacnoise, Kinnitty in County Offaly, Killay, Kells, Monaster Boyce, Duleek, Swords, and Finglass. In 845 AD, the Vikings of Dublin also set up an encampment near Tullamore. After killing his brother King Flan in 845 AD, Maelshicnail mac Maelrunaid succeeded in becoming king of the Uisnech in County Meath. Maelshicnail mac Maelrunaid is also known as Maelshicnail I, or under his anglicized name Malachi Mulroney. Maelshicnail would become High King of All Ireland in 846 AD, when Neil Kelly, the High King of Ireland, drowned in the Callan River near Armagh. At the time he became king in Meath, Maelshicnail was a vassal king of Turgesius, the king of the Vikings in Dublin. In 845 AD, Maelshicnail, king of Meath, captured Turgesius. Maelshicnail had Turgesius bound with rocks and thrown into Lake Owl, where he drowned. According to the Irish document, the Cogad, quote, "Whatever the true extent of Turgesius' power in the country, this stroke of good fortune proved to be a turning point in the war of the Irish with the foreigners," unquote. In 847 AD, Kerbal MacDunlage, king of the Osrige, defeated the Vikings of Dublin and their leader Hakon at Carn Bremet, a place that can no longer be identified. In 848 AD, Lorcan MacKellig, the king of Leinster, made an alliance with Ulster mac Canada, the king of Munster, to fight the Vikings that were harrying both their kingdoms. The Leinster-Munster alliance met a Viking force at Sciath Nectain near Castle Dermot in County Kildare. The Viking force was led by Jarl Tormer, heir apparent to the king of Laithland. The Battle of Sciath Nectain was a great victory for the Leinster-Munster alliance, as Jarl Tormer was killed along with 1,200 Viking warriors. Also in 848 AD, Tigernach Macforcatai, the king of Lochaber in South Brega, County Meath, defeated the Vikings at the Battle of Desert Dodcana. In 849 AD, Maelshicnel, High King of Ireland, defeated the Vikings at Farrow in County Westmeath. Later in 849 AD, Maelshicnel joined forces with Tigernach, King of Lochaber, and together their forces captured and destroyed the Viking long fort at Dublin. Later in 849 AD, a fleet of 140 Viking longships arrived in Dublin. It has been suggested that this fleet was sent by the unnamed king of Leithland to retaliate against Irish High King Maelshicnel and King Tigernach for destroying Dublin. According to the Irish Annals, the fleet was led by, quote, the adherents of the king of the foreigners, unquote, and their objective was to, quote, extract the obedience from the foreigners who were in Ireland before them, unquote. By 849 AD, the Vikings and the Irish had been mixing their cultures for at least a generation. Scandinavian men had taken Irish women as their wives, and their children were as much Irish as they were Norse, and can be regarded as the first generation of the Hiberno Norse. The Vikings of the fleet made an alliance with Cned mac Coneg, the king of the Connachtcha in North Brega, County Meath. Together, the Viking Connachtcha alliance plundered the territories of High King Maelshicnel in County Meath. Then in turn, they destroyed King Tigernach's Crannog, an Ireland fortress, in Loch Gáedel, the Lake of the Goats, a lake near Rotowith in County Meath. During the attack on Lake Gáedel, the oratory of Trevet was burned with 70 people in it. In 851 AD, Maelshicnel and Tigernach had their revenge when they captured Cned mac Coneg, king of Connachtcha, and had him drown in Lake Gáedel. In 851 AD, another Viking fleet arrived in Ireland. This time, the targets of the Viking attacks were not the Irish, but other Vikings. The Irish Annals call these new Vikings the Dubhgail, or the Dark Foreigners. The Dubhgail attacked the settlements of the Fingal, or Fair Foreigners, who had been settling in Ireland. No one knows who sent the Dubhgail fleet. The Vikings did not write down their own history, so all of their activity in Ireland comes from Irish sources. From the Royal Frankish Annals, we know that King Huruc was the king of a unified Denmark from 813 until 854 AD. Norway was still a collection of petty kingdoms. Norway would not be unified until 872 AD, when Harald Fairhair won the Battle of Hasfjord and merged several petty kingdoms and declared himself king of all Norway. Traditionally, it was thought that the Fingal were Norwegians and the Dubhgail were Danes, but prominent historians such as Clare Downham and David Dermville doubt the names Fingal and Dubhgail suggest anything about the origins of either group of Vikings. Regardless of their origin or which king or kings sent them, the Dubhgail attacked the Fingal settlements. The Dubhgail defeated the Vikings in Dublin and destroyed their settlements in Dublin. The Dubhgail then raided the Long Fort at Lyn Dubhgail in County Louth and slaughtered the Fingal there. In 852 AD, the Dubhgail fought and defeated the Fingal at Carlingford Lough in Northern Ireland. The Fragmentary Annals say the Fingal fleet at Carlingford Lough had 160 ships. It does not tell us how many ships were in the Dubhgail fleet. In the Fragmentary Annals, the Fingal leaders at Carlingford Lough, Zane and Lagnar, were killed in the battle. The winning Dubhgail commander was named Horm. The Fragmentary Annals say that Horm was killed in Wales in 856 AD by Rhodri the Great, the king of Gwynedd. Later in 852 AD, The Irish tribe of Connecticut of County Meath defeated the Vikings in 2 battles in the same month. One of these battles was fought at Inch near Balrothery in County Dublin. The second battle was fought at Rowholland in County Meath. The Annals do not say which group of Vikings, Dubgail or Fingail, were defeated in these battles. 853 AD, Amlaib, the supposed son of Gofraid, king of Lathland, came to Dublin, declared himself king of Dublin and all of the foreigners, whether Fingail or Dubgail. Amlaib ended the war between the 2 Viking groups, Dubgail and Fingail, and united them under his leadership. Amlaib may or may not be the same person as Olaf the White. Amlaib's brother Imar may or may not be the same person as Ívarr the Boneless. I shall recount the exploits of Amlaib and Imar in my next video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video and would like to help me make similar content, please hit like and subscribe.